Hello guys and girls, and welcome back. Today's video is going to be for anyone out there that's struggling a little bit with frame rate within the game and concerned about optimization with Inquisitor Martyr. What we're going to do is firstly outline optimization, and then what we're going to do is talk through a few tips and tricks as to what you can do in the meantime to make do. Finally, we're going to round things off by talking a little bit about hardware and some suggestions. So first up, what I mean by optimization: when a game's in its alpha stage, often there's excessive calculations being run that make processes take far longer than they need to. However, if you optimize something, then add new content, you have to optimize it again afterwards. So this is why within games, optimization's often the very last thing that's done. Heck, it's sometimes even done after a game's released and they've got more data to work with. So for those of you that are screaming out for the game to be optimized, you're going to have to be patient because you're probably going to be waiting a while. So moving on to topic number 2, let's talk about how we can make do with the optimization that we've got at the moment, which is not a lot. First step is I'm running different hardware to everyone else. So my rules and what I found to be working may not work, but here's what you can do to figure out what's going to work for you. So if you open up your Steam and you go into settings and the in-game section, you'll see then that there is an in-game FPS counter. This is what we're going to use in order to gauge what's having an effect on our performance. And I'll run you through what's working for me, but I'd encourage you to do this yourself and see what impacts your performance. So after bringing up the FPS counter and choosing whereabouts it goes on your screen, then what we'll do, we'll load up the game. And here's the first few things I would try. Now, I would firstly try just sitting in your main space station, your main base, with it in windowed mode and full screen mode. For me, I saw a jump from about 40 FPS to 60 just by putting it into full screen mode, okay? I'm running dual monitor, but it doesn't really matter what's on the other monitor. That doesn't have any impact. Whatever is running, if it's in full screen mode, it seems to make a massive difference. Now, number 2, contrary to common belief, the detail quality, the character detail, physical detail, etc., textures, that has no effect for me on performance whatsoever. I suspect it'll likely be the same for you. I think I had 1 FPS difference going from texture low to texture high, so this is great. I can play the game and it looks fairly good without it impeding on performance. But shadow detail, holy cow. If I put shadows from on, that takes me from 60 FPS to 30. If I turn it off, that takes me from 30 obviously back to 60 again. That is literally halving my frame rate within the game. Now, obviously this changes depending on what map you're on and how many shadows there are. Suffice to say, on a map with more shadows, obviously the station we're on or sitting in at the moment has the most shadows, so I don't expect you'd see 30 FPS drop within games normally, but this is something I would even suggest turning off. On a lot of maps you really don't notice that much of a difference, and it does make the game far more playable. Then talking about anti-aliasing, this is normally something we turn off within games when looking to bump performance. At the moment, anti-aliasing doesn't work for me at all. Turning it on, restarting, turning it off, doing whatever, it does nothing. I can use my own graphics card's internal anti-aliasing mode. That seems to have an effect, although it doesn't look very pretty. But this doesn't really matter if you ticked it on or off. If it does work for you though, I'd be really curious to see. Now, next we've got high shaders. This is a way of gathering another few free FPS. I see another jump from 60 to 70 within the station, I grant you, but I get similar results within missions. Probably about half the benefit you see here, me getting in a static station, I get within the mission. So high shaders, definitely something to turn off, as well as that detailed environment will get me just a couple more. It's a few extra ground effects and a few extra blood splatters on the floor, etc., but it makes a little bit of a difference. Again, also, high effects, I see a little bit more, another couple bump in. This one I haven't tested fully, but I have a feeling high effects will make a bigger difference whilst you're in combat if you're seeing lots of FPS drops. Now, so those are the only real 3 I see any difference with. Everything else, your smooth shadows, reflections, organic physics and animations, pretty much okay. Now, going back up though, I would talk about physics detail and high effects. If you're getting huge FPS drops within the actual combat itself, I would consider turning these two really far down as well. That will probably make a fairly substantial difference to you. But try those first ones first, see how you get on. Now, the last bit of this video, for anyone that's looking to do a hardware upgrade because they think that actually what they've got's probably not running the game okay, you'd be surprised to hear I'm running the game on quite a crappy graphics card. It's not crappy at all. I'm running it on an RX 480, okay, which is a $200 graphics card at the moment, and it runs the game pretty well. From the videos I play, you see the lowest I'll go is 20 frames per second, and that's with 4 people with heavy bolters and a screen full of enemies, which okay is a little bit choppy, but it's still quite playable. If there's anything less than that, I'm up into the 30s or 40s, and obviously once the game's optimised, I'll probably be pushing 40s, 50s, hopefully. But if you're thinking I have to get a 1080 to play this, you don't. You really don't. What I would say is one of the larger problems at the moment, though, is if you saw my previous footage, I used to play the game and it would drop down to 10 frames per second on the same graphics card. What changed? I got a better CPU. And this may change with time. I don't truly understand the optimization process, but as I understand at the moment, the CPU is working far harder than it would do. Now, perhaps someone in the comments can correct me as to what will happen when they optimize. Will it shift it more towards GPU work rather than CPU work? Is that just optimization? Is that drivers that are at fault here? Maybe that's something to think about. Well guys, I hope this has given you a few things to try out. I know we've rambled quite a lot about optimization, but hopefully you've enjoyed some of the footage in the background. Just me going on some tough missions and, well, trying to survive. Guys, take care, have a great weekend, see you around.